Folks, Fat Guy Flies RC, how y'all doing? Today we're going to be doing a couple of videos of landing your warbird, or we're going to make an attempt at it. The wind is cross runway, so we'll just make it that much more interesting. We're going to be taking up tricycle gear, landing warbirds with tricycle gear, specifically the Carbon Z T28, my big one. And we're also going to be taking up the E-flite, both of them are E-flites, the E-flite P39, which has tricycle gear. So I'll be featuring that. We're also going to take up the E-flite F4U Corsair, which is a traditional tail dragger, and we'll be taking up the Dynam BF109, which is a tail dragger but has the narrow inner gear. So I get to show the four different planes and the different ways of landing planes based upon their landing gear, and warbirds at that. So wish me luck. Got kind of a wind, so here we go. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be getting right back with you, and let's start the video. Fat Guy Flies RC here. We're going to be taking up the Carbon Z T28. We're going to just got through doing the range test. I've already done my control surface test, and big beautiful bird. Wind is out of the east today, so we're going to turn the bird into the east. Now, while the bird's sitting there, there's the sun. So that means I'm going to be taking off in this direction, making a pattern this way, and then curving in and landing across the runway this way, because I don't want to look at that sun. Looking at that sun causes crashes. Now, unless it gets behind a great big cloud, well, then I'm in good shape. So anyways, all right, so we got right, we got left, we got up, we got down, we got right, we got left. All right, we've done our range test. She's all put together. Well, let's see, we don't need flaps today, and we're going to be trying to do show you an example of flying these big beautiful birds doing landings. All right, really don't need landing flaps today. Okay, look at that beautiful bird. Well, I guess I will have to use flaps, because all right, well, we are going to have to land this direction. Okay, all right, what you want to do, you make your approach nice and level, and then you're going to want to kind of flare there at the very end, allowing those mains to touch, which when I say mains, I mean your rear gear, or whatever gear is doubled, you know, the 2 gear, and then let the nose set down. All right, we'll try this one more time. We'll do takeoff flaps. Really don't need it with this wind. There, that's a little bit better. Now, when you're landing a warbird though, you don't come in dead stick. You want at least 1/8, maybe 1/4 throttle, bring her in. You want that forward penetration, because otherwise you're going to have a really bad problem with a bounce. Folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. We're out here at the Avon Park Field. I'm doing my warbird landing tutorials and flying tutorials today, mainly concentrating on landings and trying to feature tricycle gear versus tail draggers. Right here is the Dynam BF109. She obviously is a tail dragger, and what's different about her is that her gear comes from the inside and flares outwards towards the wing, making her kind of a narrow gear, very similar to the way the Spitfire. Very similar to the Spitfire. So the wind is making the prop move. So anyway, so let's do our control surface. We got up, we got down, we got right, we got left, we got right, we got left. All right, now she's just a 4-channel bird. She does not have flaps. Okay, see if I can land her. Now, got very fortunate there. Now, I know I wasn't explaining what I was doing, so we're going to turn around. The principles of flying the warbird, whether it is a tail dragger or a tricycle gear, is the same. You do not float in completely. You do want to come in with a warbird. You want to land with some speed. Otherwise, you're going to get some horrible bounce. You're lined up with a runway. Got her down to about 1/8, maybe 1/4 throttle now. And I'm going to drive her on home. There you go. Now the wind is really assisting, so this is why when you're landing into a decent wind, you don't need flaps. The wind is making the prop windmill for me. What I do to make sure I've got the right amount of throttle for a warbird, for approach like this, that is beautiful, is I go ahead and I drop the throttle all the way down, and then pick it back up about 1/4. So I go all the way down and then back up about 1/4, and that's how I know. And that's before I land, of course. There we go. All right, that's a little bit better, a little better than what normally. What it is, you don't want to try to land and stop as quick as possible. That's the biggest principle with the warbirds. You're not trying to stop quickly. You're wanting to stop at a slow. You're wanting to stop more slowly. In other words, you want speed when you land. Not a whole lot of speed, but a decent amount of speed, and let her roll out naturally. With a high wing, mainly with a high wing, and those, you know, they land a lot slower naturally. With a low wing, especially a warbird, you're going to come in with some speed. So if you try to stop more suddenly, then you're going to get, if you're going to try to stop more suddenly in your approach, you're going to get a lot of bounce. You'll hear like Pilot Ryan Phillips, RC Informer, you know, Rich, he'll tell you, you drive the plane home on a warbird, and that's true with warbirds. You drive the plane home. In other words, you let your main gear touch and you drive it home. You let it run a little bit before you try slowing it down. And if you really don't have, if you're not landing into the wind, you know, then you want to use those flaps, because you got to slow that plane down at its rate, not at your rate, at its rate. The way the plane wants to that's why you want to have a lot of good runway. Folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. We're out here at the Avon Park field. We're going to be taking up the E-flite P39. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of example of how to fly this warbird and how to land her. Specifically pointing out landing, because that's the #1 skill you need to be the most try to be the most proficient with. Now the wind is coming basically right down the runway out of the east at about 10 miles an hour, maybe more. Well, you can look at the flags here, and so probably won't need any flaps. And the principle with warbirds is you never let them float in. Now if you're dead stick, you have no power, you don't have any choice. However, with a warbird, you got to come in with a little bit of speed, 1/8 of a throttle or more probably a 1/4 throttle, and let that plane bleed off its speed naturally once it touches down. If you try to stop a warbird too quick, you're going to, as you approach, you're going to get a lot of bounce. You want to, as Rich at RC Informer says, you want to drive the plane home. You want to drive it home. That's more true with a warbird than probably any other bird. So we got our range test. We got right, we got left, we got up, we got down, we got right, we got left. We have split flaps and we have landing flaps. We got everything we need. So without further ado, let's take off. No flaps. Let her come in just the way she's supposed to. Flaps don't work. That's my problem. My flaps don't work right now. That's what I'm going to say. My flaps don't work. And see, right, it was almost indistinguishable, but those mains touched first and then the nose touched, which is when you got tricycle gear, that's what you want. You want your mains to touch and then your nose gear. And then let that plane drive itself on home. Let that speed go off naturally. Level her up, bring her in. And there you go. If you have to slow it down, if you got to slow it down, then that's fine. But like there, that was a perfect landing with a tricycle warbird with absolutely no flaps. Now, but I'm also going into the wind. There we go. And that was a great landing because I put my mains down and let the nose hit. Even though I went to the grass, that helped even more. Well, there you go, folks. I hope I haven't made landing warbirds as clear as
Guy Flies RC here. The video you just watched featuring the 4 different warbirds was strictly to be a landing tutorial for those types of gear types, you know, the tail dragger or the tricycle landing gear. Normally on my website I never edit anything out, and obviously this video was heavily edited. I did that for the purpose to crunch the time down and specifically just to show the landings, as I prefaced and I explained what I was doing and how to land those specific birds. Now, those videos that accompany those planes and those flights are full-blown videos, and I will put those up in their entirety with the boring, the good, and the great, and the bad. When I put those up. For right now, I just want to get this warbird tutorial out and featuring just the landings. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all that you do and watching my videos, and thank you so much. God bless y'all.